Shh.
Hi everyone and welcome to episode 26 of the Talk is Cheap show. Hope you're all well, hope you're all healthy and hope you're all COVID free, of course. Well, we've got a great show lined up for you today, featuring two of the sharpest minds in social media, football influencer present, shall we say. Yeah, these two guys will give us great content, I'm sure. So first up, my regular co-host, resident expert, we've got Curtis Shaw in the house. What are you saying, my man?
What's happening, my bro? I tell you what, you boosted my confidence with that introduction. You know, I'm looking forward to it now.
aren't you going to serenade us with a few lines like you did last week?
Oh, you know, I ain't got no song ready today. You know,
you ain't got no lyric.
Man down. No. Yeah, man, no, I better hold it back. You know, I'm telling you.
You know what? Next week I'm going to have to ask you to spit a few bars, man. I think the singing thing.
I've got bars, man. I've got.
You got bars.
Yeah, everyone used to rap back in the day, man.
Yeah, next week you'll get you to do a few bars because the singing thing, as much as a friend you are of mine, I don't think the singing thing. I don't think you're going to get a career singing anytime soon.
No, I don't think so.
You're not here for the singing, man. You're here for your expert opinions, which we value. And secondly, it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce our special guest this week, Deluded Gooner in the house.
Thanks for having me, my guy, man. You lot are killing me backstage. I didn't know Curtis was a figure in that.
like Man oh Man at the moment sending in videos of keepy uppies and man working out in their back garden. I think Curtis fancies himself as a bit of a singer, but I told him next week he's gonna have to spit some bars because the singing thing ain't happening.
Hold him to that for definite, man. I want to hear them.
But Deluded, man. Deluded, tell the people a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to. Ain't too much of you, but
all right, cool. Well, obviously I'm Deluded Gooner. I do YouTube in that. I mean, I've been on shows with Laurie and Curtis before. Yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan. You can check me out on YouTube just by typing in Deluded Gooner. In relation to what I've been doing in terms of this COVID stuff, like you lot, working out, doing workouts at home, and just really being bored, man. If it's not videos, just stuck in my room, man. There's nothing else to do, my guy.
Yeah. But you know, one thing, this is a question I've known you a long time and I've never asked you. So now that there's a bit of distance between us, I'm gonna ask you, why do they call you Deluded Gooner, man? Because I've known you for a while and you're one of the most grounded young men I've met. And you're far from deluded. So how did you get that moniker, bro?
You're gonna kill me, Laurie. But basically, do you know what it was? I just needed a username to make a YouTube account, and then for some reason, I just went with that because years ago I was playing Xbox and some youth called me on Xbox Live, and that was the two words in my head. Then we ran with it, and then now we're at a point where you either say what you said in you're not so deluded, or you get an idiot that says, well, I can see why you're not deluded.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the story of why we're here, man. Really.
Yeah, your opinions are very grounded and far from deluded. So I've always wondered, why is this man called? I thought it had to be some irony or something like that. So,
there's no mad reason behind it. Nah, man, I wish.
Yeah, okay. Right, so for the benefit of yourself and people who may not have watched before, we're using a slightly different format to what we used previously. We were in the studio, which is basically I've pre-selected some topics to talk about. And then what I'm going to do is introduce a topic, throw it over to you, man. Get your opinions, views, etc., and then we just chop it up, go from there, and then move on to the next one. And then obviously we invite the people watching and listening in to comment, message us, to let us know what they think. So everyone cool with that?
I'm sweet.
Curtis, you know the format, innit?
Yeah, man, good to go, man.
Curtis is well aware, so we're ready to go. Right, so the first one is, I guess it's not too much of a stretch to imagine what the first one would be. So you all know about the Project Restart. And we know that the German league, the government there have given them the go-ahead to start preparing for games, which we're expecting will be quite soon. So I think they're like the first country in Europe to officially get underway. And I know that in this country, we're watching what Germany do very closely as a way of seeing if we can get back on track and get some football going. So I was thinking, Deluded, what's your thoughts on that, man?
Well, in relation to Project Restart, do you know what? my natural instinct is obviously I want to see football like in whatever capacity. Every day, every week, it seems like there's a new sort of measures they're taking, and I appreciate that. I must admit, I don't think that, again, I'm not saying the Premier League want people to die in things, but I think it's not from a human element as to why they want to get this going. Teams are losing money and things like that. In relation to the plans, I think you've got to tread very carefully. And I think the players, if I was a player, I'd refuse to play at least until things come out, purely because what happens? No, think about it. Now, what happens when the first person, it's all fun and games saying behind closed doors and only certain people can come and things like that. But what is the plan when the inevitable first person that's in the segregated thing gets that virus? What is the plan then? Like, what happens then? Because I don't know too much on the disease specifically, so it's not an expert opinion, but allegedly it takes a certain amount of time to show up. So it's not a thing where, you know, if I've got it today, I contracted it today and I take a test right now, you're going to see it. What if we're footballers, you've got it, or I've got it, or Curtis has got it, and we give it to each other without knowing, and relatives and things like that? Most of these footballers got families. Like, I wouldn't play until there's serious red tape around it gets fixed. I wouldn't play, but I want to see football.
But let me just put it to you though, because let's face it, we are. I mean, don't get me wrong, our death rate is terrible. I think last time I checked, we were the highest in Europe. So it's awful, and I feel deeply sorry for everyone who's been affected. Those who have died, the families, even people who've got it. I mean, I've had personal friends and family members who've had it. But the point I want to make is that we're entering into a phase where we should be getting a lot less infections. Now, hypothetically speaking, at some point you're going to go back to work, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, if you go back to work, okay, and God forbid somebody at your workplace gets it, is your workplace realistically going to say, well, you know what, no one come back to work because we just can't trust this? Or are you going to have to say to yourself, that is a risk that I have to take in order for me to get my life back on track again? So I guess what I'm saying is that, yes, there is an imminent risk of catching the virus, but do we allow it to just totally shut down society? At some point, aren't we going to have to get back to some kind of normalcy? What are you saying about that, bro?
You basically, what you just said is my angle in it. Like, eventually we're going to have to get back. Eventually there's going to be the inevitable. But that's what I'm saying. If there's no vaccine or there's no specific plan, then I won't put myself on the line. It's like you said, going back to work. I'm not going to go back to work until proper guidelines are in place to combat this, because people are still going to get it, sort of thing. And if I always say football mirrors society and society mirrors football, not to make it political, but if you look at the way the government, specifically Boris Johnson and the rest of them, have handled it, how can football really lead if they're waiting on that? And then does it fill you with any confidence that you'd want to go and jump in it? Like, I would want to play football, but what happens if these footballers got, especially the ones that come from third world countries, they got people relying on them. God forbid, what if they die from this? What happens then? So me personally, until it's white and black, if this player or this person contracts it, this is what we do. It is. I wouldn't be confident. Again, I'm not a medical person, so if they present with me information and stuff to get through this, I'll change my opinion. But until there's specific ways of combating this, I wouldn't really want to be the first to step up and things. Because
so I guess what you're also saying then as well is that you're not confident in the measures that Project Restart are introducing to try and keep players safe.
Yeah, currently, because we're not seeing any specifics, Laurie. Like, I'm not. It's just hypothetical stuff. And again, it's difficult because they're reacting to something they ain't had before. But yeah, man, until the next.
Do you think they're putting money, essentially, sacrificing the players' health at the altar of money?
Of course, I don't think there's any sinister individuals, but collectively, yes, you're being told that. Look how football, remember when it feels like a year ago, but remember when we first got this, football was the last to react to this. Out of all them sports people, all the sports were reacting late. You're hearing Rooney, and who's the guy that plays for West Ham, the defender? Is it O'Connor? Here, look, when you get off this, look at their comments. Like, they're treated as guinea pigs. They treat like, yeah, man, like I wouldn't have any confidence in the way football as a whole has dealt with this. So for me, I'm not fasting.
But let me pick you up on that, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, right?
Go on, man. I know you want
it. Curtis, I'll come to you in a minute with the same thing, right? So you go shopping, right? Every day or every other day, or whenever the case might be. You regularly go shopping supermarkets, yeah? Now, to be fair, the supermarkets have been open from day one, right? And all the staff, in fact, my Tesco, the local Tesco's where I go, they've taken on even more staff now to deal with the the
Demand.
increase in activity and demand and so forth. So if we use the same logic, why are they still open then? You know what I mean? Why are other people going back to work? You know what I mean? Why is it just football that are so scared to go back to work and play in, you know what I mean? Other areas of life, people are going back to work. And okay, I'm not saying that there haven't been any COVID infections. I'm sure there have. But they've managed to keep the service up regardless. And secondly, the question I want, and I want you to be honest with this one now, right? If football does come back, which we think it will, be honest, are you going to watch it?
What, on TV or like in physical?
No, on TV. No, because you can't go to the ground. Will you watch it on TV?
Of course I'm going to watch it. Of course I'm going to watch it. Like, what's going on? I'm not there though.
But do you not think that's slightly hypocritical? Because you're saying, no, I wouldn't play.
My
Because you're saying I wouldn't play.
That's silly though. I wouldn't go out there and shoot a gun, but I'll go and watch it. I'll go and play Call of Duty and things. Come on, Laurie, man.
Come on, bro.
I'll watch it because I'm a football fan.
You said if I was a player, I'd refuse.
Yeah, I would refuse. I would genuinely refuse to play because I'm a footballer. Think about it, Laurie. Think about it. Laurie, think about it. You're a player, yeah? Even if you're with 11. Remember what we just said about you don't know if you can contract it, yeah? You've got that. You've got different journalists, right? You've got to remember, specifically on the football field, all it takes for you to do is pick up a football someone's used, throw it, or land on somebody's spit, or someone coughing you. I wouldn't do it. That's what I'm saying. I can't criticize any football if they want to go and do it.
I asked if you'd watch it, and you said, "Yeah, of course I would."
I will watch it. I'm a spectator. I will watch it. There's no correlation in what you're saying, look.
But do you not think there's a little bit of irony in that statement? That
No, I don't. My opinion is I wouldn't do it if I was a baller. I can't criticize anyone for doing it, but I wouldn't do it until I sit saying I won't do it until I can see proper guidelines like white and black. If this happens, we do this. Right now, it's we're gonna play football, but we don't really know sort of thing. It's almost England. You know yourself. We've got the highest. You said it. We've got the highest.
I agree with that. But it's just
that man.
You're coming across.
If it was like Germans, like you said, Germany, Laurie, if it's like the Germans where you know their stuff is patterned and they do this properly, then I'm more confident in that. It's just, if you're asking me specifically in England, I don't think there's enough guidance for me to want to risk myself. And that goes for anybody, even if you're a milkman, really.
So basically what you're saying, you're a football voyeur.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, Curtis, so just briefly, before we go there, we heard what you thought last week. That's why I spent a bit more time asking Deluded. So, given what you've heard and what you've seen over the last week, are you still sticking to that same thing as well, that the players shouldn't play or we shouldn't play at this time? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I agree with Deluded. If you're a player at the moment, how can you step confidently onto a football pitch? Your health's at risk, your family's at risk. I think the problem is moving forward, this COVID pandemic is going to be affecting this country for a while. This ain't going to disappear in a few weeks. No. So then the question will be, at what point do they then go back onto the pitch? Because even in 6 months' time, there's going to be an element of risk. I think at the moment we're in the height of the pandemic, So for me, we're told that we're coming out of the heights now. Well, I don't know how, because the numbers still look too high, and like you said, we're the highest in Europe now. I think money is the motivation, as you say. I don't think they're specifically doing it out of spite and saying, let's hurt people, but ultimately money is what's motivating them to get the Premier League started by June, if possible. But I agree with Deluded. If I was a player, June the 8th, you wouldn't see me on the pitch. No chance.
No way. So, okay, let me ask you the same question I asked Deluded, and be honest now.
Yeah.
If the football season starts back, which we expect that it will sometime in June, and Arsenal playing behind closed doors against likes of Liverpool, are you going to watch it?
Correct. Yeah, I'll watch that.
We got vids to make, man.
Yeah, man, I got content to put out.
I like it. So there you go, another football voyeur. Thanks for that, guys. It's been very.
I know, Laurie. Before you carry on, I just want to highlight,
No.
No, remember Boris Johnson, like 2 months ago, or whenever, look how his moods changed. Before it was nothing to worry about. Before he was saying, I'm going around and shaking people's hand. And now look, if that's the man that's leading this thing, how can you ask me if I'm confident about stepping on a football pitch, bro? Like, come on, man. Come on.
No, it's true.
Yeah, you know what? It is a bit of a loaded question, but it you know what? You listen. No one's really right and no one's really wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can see it both sides of the fence. I personally would like to see football, but I perfectly understand if there are players and officials and people involved in the game who say that it's not a good idea. And me and Curtis spoke last week about some of the other implications. So, for example, the resources that's going to be needed to put on these football games could be resources that could be used elsewhere at a time like this. So I do get it, man. I do get it. It's just that I do think at some point we have to start thinking about trying to come out of this. And it's not just from the money point of view. I think it's for everyone's mental health as well and well-being, man. I think people do want to see some semblance of normalcy coming back. And I saw this week was Steve Parish was saying that he wants to see football come back. He said he's spoken to the players and the manager at Crystal Palace, and they're all in favour of coming back. So I think it's one of those where there's no right and wrong. It's just how you feel personally. But thanks for that anyway, guys. So moving on then to our next subject. And again, it's kind of COVID related, but you can't escape the ramifications of COVID at this time. And it's to do with Arsenal's transfer policy. So we're being told that the club's losing money hand over fist. Although I heard today that Stan Kroenke, I don't know how he's managed to pull this off, man, but they're saying that despite COVID, this man's personal wealth has gone up 326 million in the last couple of months. So he's clearly not doing too badly out of it. But anyway, so we're being told that Arsenal are in a pretty dire financial situation. And Mikel Arteta has been told by the board that rather than looking to buy players, he's either asked to sell, do swap deals, or look at free transfers. So there's been that whole debate around that, how he's going to get the money to finance players that we're interested in. So, for example, there's been talk about swapping a few men so we can get Thomas Partey in from Atletico Madrid. So what I thought I'd do, I'd draw up a little list of Arsenal players, right? A list of Arsenal players, and you guys can tell me if you think that we should keep them or sell them. So you guys okay with that?
Of
Keep
course,
them or let them go? Because we've been told that we have to let players go in order to finance new deals. So I've drawn up a list, about 13 players actually. And this list that I've drawn up is off the back of what we're seeing in the press about there being linked with moves. Yeah, so it's players, Arsenal players currently that have been linked with moves away. So it's not the whole squad. So let me just qualify that by saying that. Yeah. So I'm going to throw the names out there, and then I'll ask you guys whether we should keep them or look to sell them or let them go, whatever. So the first one, alphabetical order. I'll start with Aubameyang. So we'll start with you, Deluded.
Oh man, go on. It's a techie one. It's a techie one. It's a techie one. He's the one, the most out of all of them. I'm on the fence for obvious reasons. You know what? I'll probably keep. I understand everyone, and I agree. Part of me is saying I'm chatting shit right now because we need to get money for players. But think about it. If we've got, you mentioned our financial situation, we don't know how the game's going to react football wise. So if we haven't got any money and we don't know how it's going to react, and we already have areas in the squad we need to fix, why are we going to go and, there's no point signing the centre half, signing the centre mid, but you've let 20 league goals go out the window because Arsenal are not going to have money to go and spend that for Aubameyang. If, I'll entertain it, I guess, in theory, if, Aubameyang said he wants to leave, we might see a midfielder in a centre half. Can we swap A and B and give Aubameyang and do something? But I would probably keep him because where are we going to replace them goals? You're going to probably have to go for a young striker with potential to be that one day, but maybe not quite do that. I'd probably keep Aubameyang, let him run down this deal. Again, it's silly because Arsenal have been doing that, and I will sound like a hypocrite because we need to stop doing that. But I think that's the one I'm on the fence the most about, really. There's no right and wrongs for me.
You're on the fence, but you would keep it.
I would fight tooth and nail. If I had to be pushed, I'd lean more towards keeping. But I'm on the fence with that one.
And Curtis, I think I know what Curtis is going to say because he's spoken about this previously. What are you saying, man?
Yeah, for me, we've got to keep him at all costs. We can't continue this pattern that we've been doing for years. We've seen it from Van Persie back in the day, seen it with Fabregas, we've seen it with Alexis. If you want to build forward, you cannot constantly let go of your best player because not only are you weakening your team, but a potential signing like Thomas Partey, he's going to look at Arsenal and go, why am I going to go to Arsenal if they're selling their best player? It don't make sense. For me, even if he doesn't extend his contract, I would still keep him and risk, maybe that he goes for a free, or maybe we get in the Champions League next season and then he renews his contract. So definitely
keep him. Definitely keep him. Guys, I'm gonna have to say, because listen, I want to hear your opinions, but I'm gonna have to be brief because we've got a number of names. But anyway, so the next one on my alphabetical list is an AFTV favourite, Hector Bellerin. I'll ask you first this time. What are you saying, Bellerin? Would you keep him or look to let him go or sell him or whatever?
If you can get Max Aarons or if you can get a Semedo, one of those level of players, then I would get rid of him. If you can't get a decent backup, then maybe you've got to give him one more year. But get a good replacement, I would let him go.
Yeah. Deluded?
Literally off the back, everything Curtis said, I agree with, and that's my point. But adding on to that, I think he's contracted until 2022, so you probably got to make a decision. But I'd keep him because there's more urgent areas.
So you're saying keep him?
Yeah, I'm saying keep him, man.
Keep him, yeah. Well, I think you know what I feel about that.
Yeah. You know where you're going.
To use a Jamaican, I've got a long time, Bridget. But anyway. So yeah, Deluded keeping right. Ceballos, he's been an interesting one because, as we know, he's there on loan, and I think he wants to stay. Then I'm hearing stories that if he can't force his way into the first team, he might want to go back to Madrid. So he's featured a few times and he's done all right. He started off like a house on fire, and then it kind of calmed down a little bit. But Deluded, what are you saying about Ceballos?
Do you know what? Ceballos a baller, but I'd probably say let go. Unless if you can grab him on loan again, then yeah. I mean, if you could get an affordable fee, we all know he's a baller, but he hasn't played to the standard where it's a shock if he leaves. The only reason I'd keep him is if we could be smart, get a loan, and then invest in other areas. But probably be let him go back, really. Unless Arteta wants to keep him, really.
Yeah, so, if we could get him on loan, I'd keep him. He's left more questions than answers, really, Annie. We're still not sure how good he is. So for me, I wouldn't pay big money to keep him.
Okay. Another personal favourite of Curtis, Callum Chambers.
Oh, well, I'll go first on this one. I mean,
easy on the youth, man. Easy on the youth.
I'm not going to look. The man's injured, so in reality, no one's buying him anyway. But if he was, for me, he is not Arsenal standard, man. And he tries hard, he gives his best, but he's not up to it, man. Get rid of him.
I think that's pretty affirmative. Deluded, what are you saying about Callum Chambers, bro?
Do you know what it is? Yeah, I agree with what Curtis says, but I actually would keep him, man. I think he's decent. I think before he got injured, and again, I don't know how he's going to react to this injury, but before he got injured, he was looking like a decent bit of form. I think Arteta would have used him and utilized him. I think he was finally showing a bit of consistency. So, to be honest, there's not really a centre half at this club that apart from Saliba coming in, that I really have confidence in. So I'd probably let him go. But he's one of them where I'd probably more lean to keep purely because I'm stronger about a couple other names departing the team right now. So probably keep for now.
Okay, moving on then. Guendouzi, Curtis, what are you saying? Keep or trade?
Guendouzi is a tricky one in that if somebody was willing to pay big money for him on a hype, I would actually let him go, but I wouldn't push him out the door. So, I'll probably keep him unless someone acts crazy to buy him.
Deluded, same to you, Guendouzi?
Exactly what Curtis said. Unless someone comes with and quote unquote mad money, then I don't think he's one of them that needs to be forced out. I think there's what sort of player he can crack on to be is down to him, but I think there's something in him, and I definitely feel he's not the worst player in this side, so I'll probably keep him. He's frustrating, but I think there's something in there, so I'll keep him.
Okay. Kolasinac, he's been linked with a few moves away since this whole pandemic started. Deluded, we'll go with you first on that one. What are you saying?
You know what? I like Kolasinac, but I think he's one we probably need to move on. His contract probably needs to be renewed soon. I mean, if Tierney and Saka are there, then is there really another need for 3 left backs and one of them on 100k a week? I would look to move him on, really. That's just I'm being honest. Yeah, I like him. I don't think he's a poor player, but you ask me keep or sell, he's someone I'm trying to get out the door.
Right, that's pretty affirmative. Curtis, Kolasinac.
Yeah, get rid of him, man. 100 grand a week. Defensively, he's shaky. His crossing is frustrating. Definitely get rid of him. His best defending was when he protected Ozil in the street.
Jesus.
So what, you want to keep him on a security? Is it?
Yeah, maybe.
Literally a bouncer. No one wants with Collage in that time.
Yeah.
No one don't want it with him, but Sterling.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
World Fiat, man. World Fiat. Lacazette. Now, this is an interesting one because there's been a lot being said about Lacazette. Man talking about swap deals and so forth, and a lot of fans have had their views on this and had a lot of things to say. So, Curtis, I'll start with you. Lacazette, what are you saying, bro? Keep or trade?
This is a grey area for me because it's somebody I look at and I think I'd like to keep him for one more year and see if we can get more out of him. But on the flip side, I'm looking at it, if they're talking about Partey and a swap for Lacazette, if that deal was on the table, I'd find that difficult to turn down. I'm going to lean towards keeping him. I'll give him one more year, if I'm honest.
Right, okay. It's certainly one that polarizes opinions on the fans, man, definitely. Deluded, Lacazette.
Another one like Curtis, I'm going to have to be on the fence for because I think a lot of what we do...
No, you can't be on the fence.
No, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence because,
It's keep or trade, man.
No, listen. Hear me out. My heart is saying keep. It's Lacazette. I still think the form's there. But my brain is saying his future depends on what we're doing with Aubameyang, depends what we're doing with the contract renewal. And if I'm honest, do I have faith in Lacazette's ability to score 20 league goals? I think he's a good striker, but you're not. If you need to get that to be a top striker, if Aubameyang goes, I mean, if you keep Aubameyang for a year, like Curtis said, and you let Lacazette go and you reinvest however much you get for him, and you've got Eddie, you bring in someone else who might chip in with goals. I don't think it's gonna bat an eyelid. So I'm more leaning towards keep, but I'm not gonna lie. If somebody puts money on the table, he's allowed to go. It's like Bellerin and Kolasinac for me. It's like the right offer does things. So yeah, man, like I have to sit on the fence with that one, but I'm leaning towards keep.
Well, yeah, okay, I've got you leaning towards keep both of them, but I understand it's a difficult one because he hasn't had the best of seasons. Although I would qualify that by saying the season before he was voted by the fans as our player of the season.
That's why I'm saying that as well.
You know what I mean? So I always say, man, form is temporary, class is permanent. If you know that the guy's a good player, just because he's had one in different seasons, you get shot off. But anyway, that's my view. It's not about me. It's about
let me ask you something quickly.
Yeah.
Do you feel he's regressed purely because you get older? He's had a couple injuries. We heard like even his first year, he's had a couple knocks. For me, I think he's never been the quickest, but he's lost a yard of pace. So do you think he's regressing? And in terms of bringing a new deal, surely it don't make sense to give him one.
That's a good question, Personally, I think it's about confidence and form. I think he's been off form. We know he's missed some chances that you would have expected a guy of his quality to put away quite comfortably. He's missed those, and it's not looked good for him. But on the other hand, man, he's always there. He doesn't go hiding. He's a physical presence, holds the ball up well, gives the team 100%, and he does get you good goals, man. And you know what? I was thinking that pre-COVID, he was just coming back to some semblance of form. So I think, given all those factors, I think he's worth at least one more season. And let's face it, if we get rid of him, you've got to find someone to replace him because, no disrespect, people are talking about Eddie, and Eddie may come good, but at the moment, right now, he's not on Lacazette's level. Yeah. I'm sorry, he's just not, for me anyway. But anyway, thanks, guys. This one's an interesting one because we haven't really seen too much of him. Pablo Mari. He says he wants to stay. He says he's committed. We haven't seen too much, but we've heard that he's a good player. And the one game he did play, I think he did all right. So we don't really know too much about the guy, but Pablo Mari. Look, Curtis, what are you saying about that? Keep or trade?
It's a whole trade. I mean, even that game, they're saying he played well, man. I see Antonio running a few times, and I was like, boy, this is a quick league, bro.
Hey, listen, my boy Antonio would do that to enough, man.
He would.
I don't think there's a stronger guy with a more physical presence up front right now than him. So on his day, he'd do that to anyone. But anyway, go on.
I mean, look, he maybe deserves a chance. If I'm being honest, if you force me to make a decision, I would let him go because I just feel like with Saliba coming, we need a really good defender next to him. And at the moment, we're not sure how good Pablo Mari is. I would rather be sure of who I'm getting. So at the moment, if I had to, I'd say let him go.
Let him go. Okay, Deluded. What are you saying, bro?
I agree with what Curtis is saying, Carl. We haven't really seen too much from him, really. So I'd probably let him go. But I'm actually going to say keep, purely because...
you keep him?
Yeah, purely because I haven't seen much from him. And I agree wholeheartedly with Curtis, but I ain't seen much from him. I think he's a bit different. He's got a bit of experience. He's left-footed. I'm keen to see, I don't know how long it will last, but Luiz and him potentially as a partnership, or Saliba in that mix. I agree with Curtis. We definitely need another centre-half. But I've got more time for Marie than some of these centre-halves here that have been here for years, and they're actually playing in okay form now. I'd you know what, 10 million... Keep that, man. It is what it is. If Arteta wants him, then I'll sign off on that one. So I'll say keep.
Okay.
Yeah.
For 10 mil is worth keeping, I suppose.
Yeah, because you hear some silly feeling.
So you're changing your mind now. You're saying
educated man.
Force me, bro, now, innit?
Because I'm putting guns to my head and forcing us, bro.
I'm forcing you. Keep or trade. There's no prevaricating on this show, man. There's no prevaricating. You know what I mean? It's keep or trade.
Malcolm X, man, forcing.
Rise up or stand still.
It's keep or trade, and I've got the receipts in front of me.
I'm letting him go.
Pull this up.
Letting him go, right? Okay. So that one was a bit. You have to think a lot about this one, but this next one, I suspect there's not going to be too much thinking, and that is, and I hope I'm not disrespecting him too much. It's just the way it is. Shrodan Mustafi, keep or trade. Deluded.
Man. You got listen. Big up Mustafi for his form. No, big man thing. Big up Mustafi for his form. Big up himself for turning his career around. I've got sympathy for him.
I sense a butt coming in.
Yeah, bro. Form, like you said, form is temporary, class is permanent. That can praise Lacazette, but is that a key to keep Mustafi? The only reasons I see keeping Mustafi is Arteta might want him. He might think he can still compete, and we don't bring in another centre half. Surely there's never been a better time to sell Mustafi, because for once he's starting to look like the 30-40 million man we bought him for. And I don't know if 12 months from now, if football gets back, you're going to be on that. I think that, like you said, this is the quickest way. That's a sell. No disrespect to Mustafi. Shout out for his form. Out the door, man. You got to go, man. In the nicest way, he's got to go.
You're saying Galang.
Yeah, go along about your business, channel, man.
For the viewers and listeners out there who don't know what that means, that's Jamaican phrase for get out. Galang.
Get out, man. Go on about your business, man. Shout out to
I think I know what Curtis is going to say. It's Mustafi. What are you saying, bro?
Sell his Clark, man. I've had enough. I don't care if his form's improved. If you go from a 2 or 3 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10, that still don't mean you're good enough, man. Get rid of him quick.
No, it's 100. Yeah,
I think that's pretty resounding. But this next one here now, I'm sure we could have probably a whole show on this one alone. You know what I mean? This is the dreaded O word, man.
Oh, no.
The word that me and Curtis try and stay away from because we get so much criticism. Whenever we even mention this guy's name, Deluded, whenever we even mention this guy's name on the show, the amount of comments we got accusing us of being haters, you know what I mean? Even if we're bigging him up, they're accusing us of some kind of backhanded compliment. That's how it is. But anyway, Mesut Ozil, keep or trade, and no prevaricating. I want it on the real. Would you keep him or would you look to let him go?
He's a quality
Guna, what are you saying?
He's a quality player, but economically, longevity, wages, he's got to go. It don't make no sense. Like, the only reason to keep would be we're not bringing another creative man in, but he's got to go for finance purposes. Like, he just clearly got to go. Like, he's got to be moved on, man.
Actually, you was a bit more affirmative on that one than I thought, because
I'm ready to do the Ozil propaganda, but you're not letting me. I'm ready to.
No, that's what I'm saying, because I've spoken to you outside the ground on a few occasions, right? And I've been going in on the Ozil hard, and you've been defending him. I'm like, rah. So I remember when I was drawing up this list last night, I was saying to myself, I bet you any money Deluded is going to say keep him, but you've actually surprised me. So I respect you for that.
I just think he's scared at times. Not by you.
But you know what it is? You're showing me that you're being honest. You're putting aside your personal preferences, and it's a logical decision.
Don't praise me too much. I might change, bro. I'm tempted, man.
No, but it's very interesting when you break it down like this. You know what I mean? Curtis, my man. Mesut Ozil, the O word. What are you saying?
The O word.
Get rid of him quick. You know that taxi that Mustafi's going to be in. Closing in that with him as well.
So basically, what you're saying, you drive him to the airport, yeah?
Yeah, I'll drive him happily. Come on, man. I mean, look.
That's the trouble with you. You see, you've got an agenda.
If you don't see what Mesut Ozil,
if you don't see those famous words of Claude. Shout out to Claude, by the way. Hope he's well and safe and COVID free. In the words of Claude, if you can't see what he does, then you don't know anything about football. So
he's got a point, though. He's got a point.
Deluded. What's he got? One assist, one goal, something like that. Come on, man.
I'll bring up. Listen, don't make me. Give me 5 minutes. I'll go find all them stats, all them free passes, all the movements and the angles, like every
assist and all.
You know them quotes about if you watch Mesut Ozil, you don't see the game, but if you watch the game, you see Ozil or whatever it is. Like I'll bring up all of that propaganda.
Yeah.
He's a terrific.
Let me just say one thing though, Laurie and Deluded. We might want to sell Mesut Ozil. Nobody ain't gonna buy Mesut Ozil.
No. Listen, no. You're not quite right on that because this week it's emerged that Fenerbahce have come out and said they definitely interested.
Yeah, man, buying him every year, man.
They can't afford that wage. They can't afford that wage. No way can they.
That one there's a myth, man.
Well, we've heard in recent weeks that Ozil's such a philanthropist. So maybe he'll drop his wage demands if he goes there. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know, man. I know. I'm risking my life doing this, bro. I live in an area of London where there's a significant Turkish population, man. So I've got to, you know what I mean? I've got to be careful. But anyway. It's all fun and games, man. It's all fun and games. Right, so moving on then. I think this next one is it could be in that car that Curtis drives. I'm not sure. But Socrates, start with Curtis. Is he in that car?
Yeah, he's in the boot of the car.
This is brutal. This is becoming brutal, man.
I heard man calling this guy the Greek god when we signed him. I said, boy, I don't know what kind of guy this. Listen, man, Socrates, maybe 3 or 4 years ago at Dortmund, maybe a top quality centre back then. We bought a Socrates who was on the way down. He's come to Arsenal to see out his career. He hasn't got the legs, man. You need to get rid of him. Again, he'll be hard to move because apparently he's on like 90 grand a week as well. So you've got to sell him.
Wow, that sounds pretty resounding. Deluded. What are you saying, bro?
Do you know what I'll say before? I would sell him. I would say similar to what Curtis said. When we was getting him, I was quite upset with the signing, but he's been a better signing than what I thought. The bar is very low, so there's nothing to be proud of. He's got to be moved on. I think even the other centre halves that we've spoken, like Mustafi, I don't feel Socrates quite fits what Arteta wants to do, playing out from the back. His age. Like Curtis said, his wages, which could be a problem. Yeah, man, it's a sell thing. Like it's a sell thing. Too much mix up at centre half. We need some quality. It's too much quantity. He's got to go, man.
Right. Okay. Lucas Torreira.
Keep, man. Unless he, and you know what, I'm gonna say keep because Torreira's one of them, man, for me who would play every game. I love the guy. If the only problem is if he's not settled and if he really wants to leave and all these rumors are true, then that's my only reason to sell him because I'm tired of these rumors. But for me, he'd be part of my plans. I'd keep. Okay,
Curtis, to you quickly, Torreira.
I'd probably keep him. I think he's a little. I think the fans rate him a bit higher than what he is, though. Like I don't think he's amazing at anything, but yeah, I would keep him.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, is Granit Xhaka, another one that divides opinions at the club. I mean, we know he had a very sketchy start to the season, culminated in that incident where he stormed off the pitch, got stripped of the captaincy. But then, to be fair to him, since new manager Arteta's taken over, he's got his place back, and he seems to be playing a lot better. But that doesn't mean to say you guys will keep him. So let's start with Deluded. Granit Xhaka, keep or trade?
In an ideal world, he would be a rotation option. Sadly, he's a starter. I think he's a good player. I will keep him because, you know, he's turned a new leaf. Arteta, he seems to be a key part of Arteta's plans. And like you said, he's replicating that well. He has got a lot of shortcomings, but I think since Arteta's come in, you haven't really seen him caught high up the field and all of these sort of things. So he's kind of reacted. Yeah, man. If we're gonna just based on what Xhaka gives Arteta, what we're seeing, it'll be like Aubameyang. If you sell him, you're gonna have to bring in the next man to kind of do that. So I'd keep. He probably should be moved on, but I'd keep.
My man Curtis. I know you're not a big fan, so I know what's coming on this one. It looks like he's in that car. He's in your car, man.
There's even enough seats, man.
He might have to make that one of them minivans.
Yeah, man. The minibus, Golden Boy, whatever they call the brand.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Look, Xhaka, I agree with you. Xhaka is a talented footballer, but I just think the move hasn't worked. I think in the Arteta system, he looks a better player. And there are players I would sell before him. He's not the priority to get out of the door, but if we're going to get to where I feel we need to get to as a club, I think Xhaka needs to be moved on, man. I don't think that move has worked.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, then. Thanks, guys. Interesting. I'm going through. So there was 13 names. I would just add, by the way, for people who are watching who wondered why we haven't mentioned their names. Mkhitaryan and El Nene, the great El Nene. Those two guys are pretty much
Safe,
gone
man.
now, isn't it?
Safe, man.
I think I saw a report today where Mkhitaryan says he wants to leave the club. Roma want him, and it appears that Mikel Arteta is keen to offload him as well. Likewise with Mohamed El Neni. I think Arteta's pretty much made it public that he's not going to be part of the squad going forward. So, and I think who's the team he's playing for right now? It's a team in Turkey, isn't it? Besiktas, yeah. Yeah, they said they want to keep him. So fair play to him. He's done well since he's gone over there. But I think we're all in agreement that he's not quite at the level to be a regular artist.
Quite is an understatement.
There's nothing that stands out about it.
So you don't have to put him in the minivan because he's already there.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
All him and say it's done.
Anyway, so we had 13 names, and it's interesting because looking at what I've got down here, you only agreed on 4, which was Aubameyang, Guendouzi, Lacazette, and Torreira. And Curtis, you wanted Bellerin gone. You wanted Ceballos gone. Callum Chambers gone. Kolasinac gone. Mari gone. Mustafi, Ozil, Socrates, and Xhaka. And deluded, who did you want gone? You wanted Ceballos gone. Kolasinac gone. Mustafi, Ozil, Socrates. So you're very similar, but you did agree on 4. So that's interesting, man. So the listeners and the viewers out there, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think of that list. What would you do? Keep or trade those guys?
It's an interesting one, you know.
It is, man. It is.
It makes you think. Like, it just shows how delicate our side is, and if we're honest with this Arsenal team, it's just not that good then. Because there's so much debate around these man, it's just not levels. Like, if we're honest, it's just not levels. Sadly, it's just not levels.
Yeah. But listen, thanks for that. That was really fun going through that, man. I hope the viewers found it funny as well and amusing and entertaining, because I certainly did. Right, so moving on then, we're coming towards the end of the show, and Curtis will tell you that as we move towards the end of the show, we try to finish on a lighter note. I've kind of found some little things for us to have a little laugh about. And the first thing, we've got a little segment of the show we call Footballers Behaving Badly. So ever since this COVID thing come around, there's always been some footballers who have transgressed, whether it's Jack Grealish, whether it was the Tottenham players, Jose Mourinho. Last week we had Moise Keane and the Arsenal players and Pepe doing nonsense. This week we had Salomon Kalou of Hertha Berlin. Now he thought it was clever to turn up at the ground when the guys were getting tested and to interrupt their medicals and start filming and shaking hands with man and having conversations, laughing and joking about COVID. And now, and again, this man, not only has he did this, he's actually filmed himself doing it, and then he's put it on social media, which to me is like,
where's the thinking?
Wow, how stupid can one be? You know what I mean? So, Curtis, what's your thoughts on that, bro? I mean, these guys never cease to amaze us, do they?
They're not helping the situation, are they, man? I don't get his thinking behind it. Like, and what they've suspended him and fined him, aren't they? Apparently.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Germany, they've taken this whole COVID thing very, very seriously, and that did not go down too well at all. No. And Hertha Berlin have taken I don't know if you could call it drastic, but they've suspended him. So a bit like what we were saying about Moise Kean last week, that could be his ultimate dismissal. Could be the same for Salomon Kalou. Deluded, what's your thoughts on that, bro?
I mean, the only thoughts I have is it's effing stupid. Like the way you've just been describing the story, at no thought process is behind that. Like, why would you joke around and do that nonsense and not listen to it, especially because Germany have been in the madness? Two, why are you putting it on social media? Like, who told you it's funny? Did anyone not tell you it's a bad idea? Did you not tell yourself? Like, it's idiotic from an experienced man. I'm not being funny, but Chelsea's a dramatically bigger club than
you know what? That's a good point. We're not talking about Moise Kean, 18, 19 years old. Salomon Kalou, I think last time I looked, was about 35, 36.
Oh, you're a big man to be doing
been around the block.
He's stupid, man.
At Chelsea, he's an Ivory Coast international. And you're doing stuff like that in a time like this. And filming it, putting it up on social. Bro, wow. The second one I came across that I thought would be quite interesting to talk to you very briefly on is Arteta. He appeared to throw some shade at Emery's way the other day, man. But that basically, when he took over managing the team, the hardest bit about the job was getting the mood at the club right. So he's basically saying that Emery had created an atmosphere within the club where the energy was very low and the players weren't responding. So he said his hardest job was bringing together the players, the management, and the supporters. Now, listen, that may well be true. It probably is true. I've got no reason to doubt him on that. But to come out publicly and say that, I thought, right, that's a little bit. Do you think he should have said that? Curtis, what do you say?
I mean, it's not a surprise, really, because even when Emery was there, Emery was talking about Wenger and the mess that he'd been left behind, and then Arteta's doing it. I think it kind of shifts the blame a little bit onto the guy before you to say, you know, if I'm not progressing as much as you expected, look what he kind of left me with before. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of managers doing that, to be honest. Like,
yeah, me neither.
You all know what's there. It's your
do you not think it's a bit of dry snitching?
Yeah, a little bit, man. A little bit. He's trying to say, yo, when I come in, man, Emery left me with a mess, you know. Yeah, it's a bit dirty from Arteta, that.
And then the other thing as well with Arteta, he's come across as a very nice guy, and that, but he showed me with that statement that he's not above that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So anyone who thought that he's like a Lily pushover and all that, my man's showing that, hey man, you know what I mean? I've got that steelier side to me. I'm prepared to throw man under if it suits my overall position. You know what I mean? Deluded, what do you think, bro?
Oh, without seeing specifically what he said or understanding the context, on one hand, there's no need for it because Emery is irrelevant from Arsenal, but I do think there is a problem with Arsenal's atmosphere because, like Curtis said, Emery was saying this before. Wenger's was there for 20 plus years. He probably said something. Since we moved to the Emirates, definitely there's been no atmosphere. Like you said, it does shift a bit of blame, and if you could say that and say, all right, cool, I'm not a miracle worker, and you made a good point about Arteta, you didn't feel he had it in him, and it made me think.
No,
I've got to remember he's a football manager. Like, you don't become managers of Arsenal and Prem if you're just a pushover sort of thing. I do think it's unneeded, but at the same time, it is dry snitching. But it's honest at the end of the day. If he feels Emery messed up the thing, then he messed up the thing. It's what it is. Like, Emery was doing the same way as well. And plus,
my man saying, boy, listen, man, hey, it's not my team. Them man.
Yeah, literally.
Before I come in here, you know.
I'm not involved. I was in Manchester sometimes.
He's letting everybody know that for real. You know what I mean? But yeah, thanks for that. And then my last one for this week was now this one I found really funny, man. You know what I mean? I don't know if you saw the comments from Di Maria's wife.
He's not fond of Manchester, man.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you do. Di Maria had a pretty unsuccessful spell in Manchester, didn't he? And he left there. Apparently, the wife, she's not impressed with Manchester as a city at all. And she said, let me quote, she said that Manchester is a shithole city, right? The women in Manchester are skinny and weird. I have to say that's what my experience. And the food is disgusting. I'm like, rah, she's not holding back. This woman is not holding back, man. And I must have listened, man. One of my brothers, Steve, he lives in currently just outside Manchester. Lovely part of the world, man. Really nice place. So I've been to Manchester quite a few times in the city centre. I've got a few other people I'm friendly with up there. I've been to football games up there, as I'm sure you guys have. I've always thought Manchester's a great city, to be honest. In fact, it's one of my favourite cities in the country after London, of course. So when I saw that, I was like, right. I mean, I know she's speaking from personal experience, but to call the city a shithole, man, I certainly wouldn't call I've seen way worse cities than Manchester, not just in this country, but around the world. I mean, I've been to, I haven't been to, where's she from? She's from Argentina. I know they lived in Spain, but I've been to a few places in Spain that were not at the level of Manchester. So, but anyway, Deluded, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts on that, bro?
Well,
you think Manchester's a shithole?
I don't think it is, but the one thing I took from it is happy wife, happy life, because this screams to me that she didn't want to move to Manchester. She was never happy in Manchester. It was doomed to fail. Maybe if she was happy and didn't say these things, he might have tried to stick it out at United on top of just not working out. I think it is distasteful. I did read about this, and I saw something about, she said when he was moving, I didn't want to go because I think she's good friends with Sergio Aguero's wife, and she said we was there for 2 days. I don't like it. So it screams to me she never wanted to do it. She probably had issues making friends and things like that. Maybe that's why she made the comment about the women. If you don't like the food, you don't like the food, man. She needs to go to a Caribbean shop. But it was doomed to fail then. Like, that's all I get from that. It was doomed to fail before it started then, because of his wife. And when you're getting that voice in your head on top of you feeling that, it's going to make you feel a certain way.
That's a good point. That's a good point, actually. That might explain one of the reasons why it didn't work out.
And then Curtis as well. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, of course. But she never mentioned that.
No.
She didn't mention that, you know. She just said that it was a shithole city and the women are skinny and weird and that the food was disgusting. Curtis,
wow.
I know you've been to Manchester. You've played in Manchester as a footballer. You've been there several times, so you're qualified to have a comment on this. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. I think personally, I'd probably put Manchester my top 3 cities in the country. I think it's a great city, a lot of culture up there, a lot of modern buildings, a lot of students. It's a nice place, but maybe with her moving from Madrid, where you get the sunshine and all that, Manchester, you get a lot of rain up there.
That's the one thing I would say. The weather is pretty horrible in Manchester for most of the time. Yeah,
and
so she didn't like
that either. She didn't like the.
She never mentioned weather.
For real. She just didn't want to go, man.
And the robbery as well. Them getting their house robbed, it obviously made them feel a certain way towards the city, in it. So I think there's a lot of ill feeling there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, listen, guys, we've come to the end of the show now. It's been great working alongside you guys on this show. I've really enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope the viewers who are watching, hope they enjoy it and they'll continue to watch, like, share, subscribe, as I always say. Keep commenting on the video, message us, do anything you want. We like to be interactive. And just before I go, Curtis, tell the people where they can find you, bro.
Yeah, man, check out my channel, Curtis Shaw TV. Still putting up content on there. I'm sure I'll make a video in the next few days with Deluded. We've been trying to...
Yeah. We need to get...
We're going to get that sorted. Big up Laurie, the host, as well. Everyone stay safe out there, and hope you enjoyed the show.
Deluded?
Oh yeah, love for having me, Laurie, as well. You can find just literally primarily on YouTube, Deluded Gooner. Anything will come up. Deluded Gooner AFTV. Any sort of buzzword in the search will come up. In relation to my socials, Deluded Gooner 04 and everything apart from Snapchat, which is dgooner04. I keep saying it's 04. But yeah, that's where you can find me on that stuff, man. Thanks for having me, Laurie.
Great. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to the viewers. Keep safe, keep well, keep observing the lockdowns. No Salomon Kalous or nothing like that. And we look forward to seeing you next week. We're out. One love.
Peace.
Bless.
The coronavirus has not just affected the world of football, but has affected everybody. But you know what? We can defeat it. If you're displaying any of the symptoms, always make sure that you self-isolate. I know it's a terrible time, but we will defeat the coronavirus. We will be back.